Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Now that my two obligatory informative videos are done for the day, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And I had a viewer ask me on the Facebook fan page, Jason, what do you think about Kinobody's superhero physique strength standards and how do they compare to yours? What are your thoughts on this? Good question. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. Now, you guys know that I do believe for drug-free people that you do need strength standards. Why? Because size is correlated with strength relative to height. The only time that gets skewed, and I'm going to state this again, the only time that gets skewed is when drugs come into the mix. When drugs come into the mix. Now, it doesn't mean that someone who's good on 1 or 2 lifts is automatically going to be jacked because only a handful of muscles are used on any given lift, right? And your height matters tremendously. Height matters tremendously, and that is what the research shows on it, right? A shorter guy needs a hell of a lot less muscle to squat 500 pounds than a taller guy does. Therefore, they're going to weigh a lot less. Therefore, size and strength, again, are correlated relative to height. Relative to height. That's the problem with these ratios. And now, there are ratios here, right? There's ratios. Why does Kinobody do that? Because he's a student of Martin Berkham. He took Martin Berkham's stuff, and that's what he markets. The problem is that he took the leg stuff out. And here's the big problem I have here. The strength standards that he has set here, because there is no leg training listed, no strength standards for legs, the best way to reach his standards is to completely avoid all leg training. You guys see the problem there? There's the biggest problem. Using body weight multipliers with no leg stuff in. Because your legs could easily put 10 pounds of muscle on you, right? If you trained your lower body, you could have up to 10 pounds of extra muscle on you that's going to really, really count against you big time on these lifts. I mean, so much so that we're talking about, look, you talk about incline benching. If you have an extra 10 pounds of leg muscle, that's another 14 pounds you have to have on your incline bench to hit his standards. You guys see the problem there? It deters you from training your legs. And let's be realistic. He can talk about whatever he wants with all this stuff with the upper body, and I agree on a lot of his upper body stuff. I think his exercise selection and a lot of the standards that he wants to promote are actually good. I agree with that. But this is anti-lower body training. And or if we're going to talk about, number one, looking like a superhero, you ever seen a superhero that didn't have enormous 29 or 30-inch thighs in any comic book ever? I haven't. Every one of them looked like they squat 700 pounds. Every single one of them. Every one of them. Every comic book character, every superhero ever. So that's a problem. I mean, he should be telling guys to get to a 600-pound squat. That's what I'd like to see him promote if he wants people to look like superheroes. Number two, worrying about just your physique and not your health and fitness, that's not a good idea. You need a leg strength and leg muscle for health. And I've done videos on this. If you look at the research, the amount of muscle that you carry in your lower body is more important than your upper body for your health and your fitness. In other words, we're talking about lowering diabetes rates, lowering cancer rates, lowering osteoporosis, all these terrible things. And most of us train because we want to be fit and healthy. Let's be realistic here, guys. I mean, if we're going to go to the gym and train, we might as well get the benefits out of it. And having lower cancer rates and lower diabetes rates and stuff, that's fantastic, right? That's part of a healthy lifestyle. So being anti-lower body training and not putting a big focus on it is a problem there. It's a big problem. So using body weight multipliers and no leg stuff in there is a problem because Martin Berkham had leg stuff in there. He promoted the squat and the deadlift big time. So when you remove those, though, you end up with this other problem. And it's like this could be hit easier. All of these things could be hit easier if you just don't train legs because you'll weigh less. And I get it. I mean, a lot of people want to use the multipliers, which is like, well, you'll have to be as lean as possible too, right? Well, being lean, being 10% body fat instead of 15 or 20 will absolutely help you with those multipliers, right? Absolutely, which will also, again, may give you more of that aesthetic look these guys are chasing. So essentially what he's having people focus on is the overhead press, the incline, weighted chin-ups, bicep curls, and being as lean as possible. Well, if you just stuck with that, that would be fine. Yeah, that's true. You will have a very aesthetic upper body. If you get really good at overhead pressing, incline, chin-ups, and curls, and you're super strong at them, and you're really, really lean, you're probably going to have about as aesthetic of an upper body as you're going to get. And I don't necessarily like to use that term, but it's a term everyone uses. So I'm just going to go with the flow here. I know guys are going to crucify me. Oh my God, you're so against that, but you're going to say, yeah, let's just use the term everyone uses. Let's be realistic. His exercise choices are pretty good for that. Those are good choices. I'm not going to argue against that. That's reasonable. And you should be really strong at those lifts if you want that look, and you should be lean. But the lack of lower body training is the problem, and this will promote that. The other thing to factor in, I don't like the multipliers. We need to have standards that are better than that. Bodyweight multipliers are not used in strength sports for a reason. You're catering to really short people. In other words, the moment you start throwing in a multiplier, like a double bodyweight bench, you need to understand that a 5'3" guy will has about a 20 times higher chance of reaching a double bodyweight bench than a guy who's 6'1". You see the problem there? Multipliers screw tall people. The shorter you are, basically if you're a midget, if you're Alpha Destiny, getting a really high bodyweight multiplier on these lifts will help you. And the problem is that, you start looking at size and everything. I mean, height matters for size when you're in person. Let's just be realistic here. I mean, case in point, when you see different people, you see them in isolation, they have a certain size you think they are or whatever, till you see them by other people. And granted, when people who aren't lean look small till you put them next to other people their same height. You'll see a guy who walks around at 8% body fat and you think he's really jacked till you see him next to someone who actually is big. And then you realize, okay, it's just the leanness that makes him look big. In person, not going to be so much the case. And that height really, really matters. So it's like he's really catering to short guys. He's catering to short guys to make them feel better, but it's not necessarily going to be true. And what do I mean of how much difference that makes of size matters for height? All right, case in point. You guys have seen me. If you look around enough stuff out there, you'll see me next to several different people. My detractors love to put me next to people who are 6'3" or taller, right? Because I'm 5'9". Now, on the internet, that would be 6 foot, by the way, because everyone adds 3 to their height. I don't. I'm actually legitimately 5'9". But they love to put me next to guys who are 6'3" or taller and then say, oh, look how small he looks. Well, yeah, like the other day, actually a while back, I had a guy swung by, guy's got his own little smaller channel. The guy is like a 6'3" high school football player, right? Of course he looks bigger than me. The guy is close to 300 pounds and 6'3", plays football. He's weaker than me though. He can't deadlift what I deadlift, can't squat what I squat. He can hang with me on the bench. The guy's not as strong as I am, but he's bigger because he's taller, wider, more fat. But what happened when I stood next to Ogus, who's like 5'6" or 5'5"? I dwarfed him. I mogged him. Because the height really does matter, guys, and particularly when overall muscle mass and even body fat and things come into play, it matters. So it absolutely matters for these things. And the problem is that body weight multipliers really are kind of the same thing as weight classes in strength sports. What is it you'll hear people say? Even Greg Nuckols said that again the other day, quoting a coach that he knows. Weight classes in strength sports are actually height classes. That's really what they are, right? The champions of any given weight class all tend to be the same height, and the higher the weight class, the taller the guy gets. Problem is that body weight multipliers basically excludes anyone who's over 6 foot tall, right? If you are over 6 foot tall, body weight multipliers will screw you. You will always be weak on the multipliers, right? It's almost impossible for you to have a good body weight multiplier. Look at the guy who they call Thor, the guy who's been playing the mountain, world's strongest man. You guys know what his body weight multipliers look like? I can barely do a double body weight squat. Barely do a double body weight squat without reps. His bench is like 1.3 times his body weight. He can't hit these strength standards. So you look like a superhero? One of the strongest men in the world. But then you'll see guys who are really short, who are 5'2", 5'3", walk into powerlifting meets and hit a 4 times body weight deadlift. Bench 2 sometimes 2.2 times their body weight, right? Because they're short. And they may not look that jacked. So the problem is, again, body weight multipliers, I don't think they necessarily work. They work for short guys, and they really skew the stuff when you only do them for half of the body, because it will encourage people to not train the other half. And that's the problem here. It's like to reach these multipliers, the best way you could do would be to never train your legs. That's not good. That's not productive for health. That's not productive for fitness. That's not productive for athleticism. Hell, it's not even productive for looking like a superhero. You take the guys you have in the photo, if they all have the good upper body, but then they have little chicken legs in person, since they're only shown from the waist up, they don't look like a superhero in person, right? They don't look like a superhero out on the beach wearing shorts. They don't look like a superhero when those pants come off. So just throwing that out there. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.